Roses are red, violets are blue. I love quilling and I think you will too. The theme for the next Sydney Quillers meeting on Sunday is roses in time for Valentine's Day. So I decided to make a bunch of quilled roses. I'm going to show you how to actually make a quilled rose and also how I assembled this design. First step was to actually make a quilled rose, so here's how you do it. First things first is I'm going to wind it around a couple of times so that the inside is nice and strong, and then I'm going to glue that bit in place so it's got a strong centre. So then the first folds of the petal, what you're going to do is you're going to grab this and you're going to bend it outwards, and as you're bending it you do a fold. So it does look a little funny to start with and it does seem like you're doing it wrong, but you just have to sort of go with it. So each time you do a turn, you fold the paper upside down and you keep folding in the same way. So this sort of motion is creating the petals, and you just hold it with your other finger while you're winding it around. You keep going around until you use the whole piece of paper. It does start to get a little unwieldy as you move to the end, and when the rose is getting bigger and bigger and there's more and more petals you have to hold in place, it starts to get a little bit hard to hold on. And as I'm going out, I'm making the fold so that fold finished there, and I'm making it slightly wider each time so the petals are getting bigger and bigger as we're moving out. But it's not even, because I don't think roses are that even, so it doesn't matter if they're not symmetrical or neat, because it kind of makes it look a little bit more realistic, I guess. So when we get to the end, I'll just do one more fold there. And I'm deliberately going to leave a little tail, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in a second. So I'm going to leave it on the quilling tool, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it with my other hand and I'm just going to pull it down like this and just make kind of like an accordion. I'm going to make a little bit of space like that. Kind of looks like one of those things you get at Fates where you have the potatoes all in different layers and it's one potato but it's all in little levels. The reason why I'm doing that is so that I can get the glue in on a couple of the petals so that it can hold together once I close it. So I'm trying to avoid getting glue too far on the outside. So just a little dab where it all meets so that it doesn't pop open again. Then we're going to just collapse it again the way it was. So I'm going to push it up. And so then what I'm going to do with that tail, I'm going to slide it off the quilling tool and make sure I don't let it go because the glue's still taking, so I don't want it to come apart. But I've still got this little tail. But what I want to do is, if you can see here, you can see all the way through the rose. And so when it's stuck down, you're going to see white, and I don't want to do that. I don't want that to happen, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the tail to cover that. I'm going to glue that there, and then this last little bit, I'm going to fold in over itself. So this tail sort of gives two purposes. So it covers the bottom so that you can't see through the rose. So it looks like it's petals all the way through. I don't know if I can let it go while it's still drying, but you can see how you can't see through it anymore because it's closed. But the other purpose that it serves is now there's a nice flat bottom to put glue on when I'm eventually going to stick it to the card. So that's a rose. I'll make another one. So again, pop it in the quilling tool, go around a couple of times so that we get a nice strong centre. And then we start folding out and rolling it around. So I guess you could say these are kind of cabbage roses. What do you reckon? Do you reckon quilled roses are a particular breed of rose? I showed these to my mum, and she's quite a gardener, and she reckoned they look like cabbage roses. Cool, so again, I'm going to leave that little tail, so I'm not going to fold that one quite yet because I need something to hold on to. I'm going to just pull that down so that I can place some glue. And I'm going to fold it back up. glue's had a little bit of time to take, so it won't pop open. And again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold this little tail over and fold it in over itself, deliberately covering that little hole that the quilling tool made. So I'll fold that on over, line it up, and then I'm going to put some glue in. And there we go. So I'll let those two dry. And I've actually made a whole heap of these. And I'm going to arrange them into a bunch of flowers for Valentine's Day. So all this paper that I'm using for this rose design, I actually got from Cardcraft, which is based in New South Wales in Australia. And this one that I used for these roses, it's all from here. So this is all different shades of pinks and reds. And that's what I'm using to make these roses. So let's assemble some roses, see how we go. So I think that's the bunch of flowers to start with, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some leaves. So I've got some medium green, and I've got this colour green also from Cardcraft, and I think this sort of kind of looks more like rose colour in my opinion, and I'm going to use this as some of the light leaves. For the stems, I just got green paper and folded that into like an accordion shape and kept folding it back and forth. And I just did it at different lengths and then arranged it until I was happy with what they looked like. And then I glued them together so that they wouldn't move around. And then I realised I wanted an even more of a 3D effect, so I grabbed a whole heap of discarded quilling shapes from other projects and I arranged them as the first layer. And then I glued that down. And glued the leaves down. And then I glued the big roses onto that first layer. So I glued it onto that flat bottom that each of the roses has. Whilst the big roses were drying, I glued the ribbon down. And so the ribbon was made out of 2 V-scrolls and 2 teardrop shapes. And I just arranged them until I was happy with what they looked like. And I'd already wound the middle part around the stems, so that was already ready to go. And then I arranged the small roses and glued them down. So that's how I made my quilled bunch of roses in time for the Sydney Quillers meeting on Valentine's Day. And finally, I took inspiration from Anne Martin's wedding certificates where she would glue the design onto a mat. And I found this blue mat, which I think looks really nice and I'm really happy with it. So that is how I made my quilled bunch of roses in time for Valentine's Day and the Sydney Quillers meeting on Sunday. I hope you have a lovely Sunday and remember to stop and smell the roses. I will see you next time. Goodbye.